Sammy was saying, we have a Dan, a Sam, and a Bonna. So this is good. I'm glad that you guys came here to join me in this. For those of you stopping by, hi. This is episode 81 of Destiny Digest. It hasn't been on for like 5 months due to various things going on in my life. But this is kind of the crew that you should expect week over week. My name's Danfinity, but we have with us, we'll just go around clockwise in the cube. We have BonafideHiro. We have SamiKat. And we have EpicDan. All wonderful folks that have been guests in the past. This is kind of the status quo for us going forward, and we'll be talking about the news of Destiny week over week. So, with all that started, what have you guys been playing?
In Destiny or
in Destiny, just
Destiny?
In games, or like
Destiny the game.
Destiny 2 the game.
Destiny 2 the game. Have any of you guys played Destiny Rising yet?
No.
Outside
the country.
I have.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I don't plan to.
No? Even if they let you play it on PC? Because the question right now is whether
I don't think they're going to port it to PC.
Well, no, a lot of people are just
emulator.
going to, people are going to probably play on an emulator.
Like what is that? The stacks?
BlueStacks.
Oh, BlueStacks.
BlueStacks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just play it through that.
It is definitely interesting. I will say that.
Yeah.
I don't play mobile games, really. Big reason why is because I'm very competitive and I have to have everything.
Okay.
So
I understand that.
It would be a gateway game.
Without going into debt. I totally understand that.
Just don't download Pokemon Go.
Well, Pokemon Go is a different story for me. Anyways, I don't do Pokemon Go. But I was banned from it at one point.
You're banned from Pokemon Go?
Spoofing.
Okay.
Moving on. No, I wasn't. This is
Okay.
something else. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I don't play Pokemon Go. But I downloaded that new Pokemon trading card mobile game, Pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm going to delete that because oh look,
You have to have everything.
I opened up this card pack. That was fun. Look what I got. It just put a whole bunch of them into my binder. And then I'm like, I really want to open another one. And I'm just, no, we are not going to start this. We are not going to get into this.
You know, you're better than a lot of people. At least you know that ahead of time. And you know when to like close that part of your life up. A lot of people don't.
And then with Destiny, I need to do this. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to be part of this group. I want to play with my friends. But I need this. I don't have the money to have this.
Yeah.
So
I'm too poor for this game.
I don't play mobile games because I know it would not go well for me at all.
I feel you.
If I play mobile games, for the most part, it's like there's one on my phone called Balls. And it is.
Of course there is.
It's BALLZ. Calm down now. And it's like, but it's just a game where you like, you fire a ping pong ball at a series of blocks, and the series of blocks comes down like Space Invader style, and if it reaches the bottom of the screen, then it's going to then it stops your progression.
Yeah,
that's pretty much the only one that I have on my phone right now. I have been toying around with the idea. Oh, well, in the past I had Survivor.io on there, which I think is like the more superior version to Vampire Survivors, just because of the progression for that. And then Balatro has been calling my name. A lot of people have been talking about Balatro, and
I've heard that game is pretty fun.
It was a heavy swinger at the early part of the year for like, people were like, oh, this could be a game of the year, even though it's like kind of just about poker. So I'm interested to see. I might add that on my I might add that onto my phone, but I haven't have it for a while. I'm kind of with Sammy. I don't really like. I will doom scroll on my phone, but I do not like go to it for games as much anymore.
Really?
That
Okay.
meme a
I
couple
do
of years
have
ago.
one game that I play. It's like my fidget toy where I'll play it while I'm watching something or just in the background just to visually have something in front of me. It's called 1010. It's an old game.
Yeah.
It's a really old game. But yeah, it's basically you take these different shapes and you try to it's kind of like Tetris, but you just get a full
Yeah.
For those of you listening at home, I just showed the exact same game that I'm currently playing right now because I'm ADHD as fuck.
Yeah, see?
Oh, you've got a pretty one.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what kind of games you mean for mobile, because I know we mentioned Destiny Rising, and a lot of people won't play that, but I think we all have just mentioned back to back that we do play some form of game, but not in the sense of playing a mobile game like we would more like a console or a PC game. Like we all have games on our phone that's like to pass time or something that's super remedial. Like I have a few games that I only boot up when I got to go to the DMV or when I'm at the airport just to pass time.
On a plane,
On a plane or something. Yeah, that doesn't like require like internet connection,
right?
Or for me to actually be competitive.
There's these people now that have like PUBG and Fortnite and now Destiny on their phones, right, and play it seriously. So, but like with that, there's all these ads that come with phone games and everything. So
it's a moneymaker. I hate it.
There wouldn't be. Would there be anything there for like them to put ads or enforce ads like on the game if you don't after a little while? Because that 1010 game you were just saying about, Sam, I've just come back to it. The version I'm playing, I've been playing it for about 8 years, and they've now just started pushing ads on it. Whenever I open it up, there's an ad. If I like 3 minutes into playing it, there's an ad, and then there's no more. So they're like pushing.
I got no ads.
You got no ads, else, right? So
they have a lot of games like that now where you can purchase for like $4 a version of the game that doesn't have ads. If you play the free
remove
one,
ads.
Yeah.
So I'm just that's where I'm like scared about.
It depends on how often you'll play it. Like if you think it's worth your time and the ads are hindering your experience, or they happen so frequently that you can't even play more than 5 minutes and like an ad pops up, then it is worth it.
Do you guys know the game Disney Emoji Blitz?
I've heard of it.
Dude, I was addicted to that game.
Yeah.
It's one of the only games I spent money on. I was addicted to it, and I'm like, okay, we need to stop this right now.
You're better than a lot of people. At least you know. You're better than a lot of people.
I'm like, we're not doing it.
Circling back, so Dan, you're pretty much the only one of us who has played Destiny Rising. What are your thoughts? Like anything?
It's absolutely a mobile game.
Yeah,
like through and through, it is a mobile game. I played it on iOS. Most people, from what I've talked to, have played it on like one of the emulators. But I even made a video. I wanted to play it on the intended platform in the intended experience. And if I was a mobile, like, I don't know if there's mobile sweats, but if I was like super heavily into mobile games, it's pretty solid. The only problem is that I'm also a Destiny player. So they give you like a good 5-minute tutorial of the world. And because of me knowing everything about Destiny, I'm like, But you have to also remember that like none of this is in the actual Destiny lore. So
it's a different universe.
They brutalize a lot of the stuff that happens, but you also get to see like who was it? In the first 5 minutes, you see Radagast and you see Scory, like a lot of folks. I'm like, what? And you see them and you interact with them, and you see all these Alliance members of the Fallen in their version of the tower, and a lot of that stuff is cool from a Destiny aspect because I know I probably would never see some of these characters because in the actual lore they're dead,
right,
or they're gone. And the combat, I personally don't like.
Okay.
But that's just me.
What
but
is?
I also obviously played it on a mobile, on an iPhone, and you had to like have right thumb was so lots. It was abilities. Bottom right, middle was super. Top right of the screen was like shooting. It was a mess.
Oh, okay.
So I think most people that probably will play this a little bit more seriously would play it on emulator.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not the target audience.
Yeah.
Which I also realize.
Yeah.
Just wait until they bring GMs out.
Well, it has a raid on it, right? It has like
One thing I find interesting is, yes, it had its first like raid activity.
Yeah.
And they're treating it the way it sounds, or at least in the community, the way people are interpreting it, is that it's like early access rather than alpha.
Okay.
They're not treating it like an alpha generally is of a game. They're treating it as an early access, essentially. So I don't really know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know.
Like it seems pretty feature rich. I mean, like I saw videos of Lep playing like SRL on there.
Yeah. So SRL was that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah.
So it seems like they have a little bit of something for everybody. I think it even has a ping system in the game, which like Rev and I were talking about today. Like Destiny doesn't have, obviously, but like,
yeah,
it's weird that like the differences between the two, even when like in some of those foundations being a little rich, even for like a mobile game. I'm intrigued by it, but I don't think I'll ever download it to my phone, just because I don't need that time sink splitting my attention elsewhere. There's already so many things going on in the world and on socials and everything. Are there any other games that you guys have been playing? What have you guys been playing in Destiny?
Last was it in 2 days? Will the haunted event? Was it Festival of the Lost will end? So I've done like a little bit of that. So this will be the 4th year in a row that I won't finish that seal. It's the only event seal I never do, and I always get to this point in the year and I kind of like fall off a little bit and sort of go to other stuff. I'm gonna lose my focus. The armor, it's probably the best thing that's happened in the past couple of weeks, but the armor for the event for the Titan, that's super sick. So I love that. So obviously jumped on, did that, did a bit of GMs in Destiny. Got my icebreaker last week from the dungeon. But other than that, I've just been kind of chilling more on Star Citizen recently. So it's kind of where I'm at with it. We'll have the new act coming out soon, and so it's kind of just prepping for that.
What about you guys, Sammy and Dan?
I think in general, the main thing that I've played recently that was in Destiny was I recently went through Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Okay.
And then after that, I played through Astrobot.
And
I enjoyed both of those a lot, just to give me a bit of a. I like to play game. I love Destiny, but I like to play games that aren't that style of game when I just need like a break from Destiny real quick. And those games are also really good, and I really enjoyed them. As far as Destiny, it's just been playing the dungeon nonstop. I think it's a really solid dungeon, and I enjoyed it a lot.
I haven't heard a bad thing about the dungeon.
It's my favorite one since Grass of Avarice. And I know some people like some of the others, but
even over the more recent one, the what is it?
Warlord's
Ruin.
Warlords, yeah. That was my favorite up until this one. So
I guess it's because I look at dungeons in a different light. I look at them from a day one experience, from a challenge, and then from a solo experience. And I think the newest dungeon really hits all of the bells for me, where some of the other ones don't as good. So
I have 7 days and 12 hours in the new dungeon.
Forgive me for not being caught up. Have you completed it yet? How close have you gotten?
Okay, well, I have completed it twice.
Okay.
Okay.
So normally with all the dungeons, I refuse to run it with anyone until I complete it solo, and then solo flawless. But I was sponsored by Bungie for a speedrun competition. So I couldn't be like, hey, Bungie, I'm not going to clear this until I get a solo clear.
Yeah.
So my first and second runs were sponsored by Bungie.
That's a good reason to
So
me.
I have completed it, but I just haven't completed it solo yet. And those 7 days, 12 hours, only 6 of them were for the speed run. So I have 7 days and 6 hours of solo dungeon, solo Vesper's host. I have not completed it solo yet.
That's a lot of time, Sammy.
It is.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it. Every single dungeon I go in for my first run, I do it solo, all bows, no artifact. I eventually turn off my HUD. Do it spoiler free, but this time I'm also doing it no super. Okay. So I don't have a super in there. Yeah, it's a lot.
What is looking at your dungeon report right now? 7 days, 12 hours. If only I could click on that and see how, like, where you are on the leaderboard of time spent in there.
What?
There's no option. I wanted to see if you would be like right up there, but
my question with that is like, so I'm assuming like you learn like really goofy stuff about the dungeon, like spending so much time in them as you do, because like you're just throwing yourself at them pretty much, at least within the first like month of them. What is the most surprising thing you've learned about the design of this dungeon during your time in there?
You mean what I wasn't expecting?
Or like what you weren't expecting, if there was like a weird interaction, something that like made it easier once you understood, like once it clicked over.
Well, one thing I wasn't expecting that I think is just one of the coolest things that they've done in any of the dungeons is the use of binary in the second encounter. I love that encounter. Actually did an encounter tier list I'm working on.
Okay.
But in case people don't know, in order to do no HUD, you have to know what the eyes that light up, what combination of eyes that light up on the servitors up top. So it's basically a binary clock. So depending on the combination, it'll tell you 1 through 9 which ones they are. And I didn't realize it was binary. Someone had to tell me it was binary, but I knew that the combination had to do with what panels to shoot. And I was just devastated when I was first trying it. I'm like, how do I know people are? And I was like, guys, I don't want spoilers, but can you just tell me, is this possible without HUD? And everybody said no. And I wanted to just cry. And I'm like, no way that the dungeon team, who I know watches me, no way that they would do it so I can't do it without HUD. No way whatsoever. There has to be a way. But everybody kept saying there's no way you could do it. So eventually I'm like, okay, hitting my head against a wall. There has to be something with these eyes that light up. And eventually someone was like, yeah. It has to do with binary. I was like, okay, good. But that shocked me because of how clever that is. I just, who would have thought?
It would not surprise me if they were like, this is specifically for Sammy.
Like, do you reckon they were in the back either laughing or they're like, guys, I think we've gone too far?
Because I know they watched me, and it's, I don't say that in like a pompous way.
Oh, no.
But I know they watched me, and I'm just like, oh my God. I was devastated. And part of me is just wondering, like, if they're like, okay, she's going to figure it out. Let's not panic. She's going to figure it out.
Yeah. That's great.
But the thing that eventually took a while for me to figure out was damage for the final boss.
Okay. What are you using
Yeah.
there primarily?
I'm using Levy's Breath.
Okay. As
But
always.
I have, of course, yeah. No super.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing the floor when it's going to do the whole like anomaly storm.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time because sometimes it'll glow if it's behind me, but I can't see. I mean, just visually, my brain just can't seem to figure out
Yeah.
where it's glowing. So I spend a lot of time running around trying to find some place to stand rather than actually doing damage. If there were more of a way to indicate what's going to happen, because it's like the floor is fizzling out as something else is about to rain down. So it's like, okay, there's a lot. I like the aspect, I like the mechanic, but it's too much. So trying to figure out that really helped. Call outs were not good for me. Call outs were hard in the first encounter. That took a while because I kept forgetting them.
Yeah.
Because you're in the thick of it. Like, how are you? I'd expect that like most of your time is just like trying to nail down like paths, trying to nail down like just what you're going to be countering the entire time that you're in there.
Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward what I need to do. There's a little more variation in this. First encounter though, I have down like super smooth. I have short-term memory deficiency.
Okay.
So trying to use like call out what it is and then remember it and then go back and shoot it is really challenging because I just don't remember it. So this is the first dungeon I actually used text chat.
Okay.
I've never used text chat in a dungeon or in a solo activity before. So that's a new thing for me. Yeah, it's a different experience. And I don't know if other people feel that way. It feels like a totally different dungeon than a lot of the other dungeons.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The experience of it feels different. And I don't know if I like it or not yet.
I've said it's because they're moving towards a more raid-based design. Because if you look at the history of dungeons, obviously they've always been built with the expectation, at least they weren't at first, but with the expectation that you're going to be able to go into this encounter soloable, which is why like a lot of the mechanics are allow you to like, manage them by yourself. But like one of the reasons I know someone asked why was this my favorite dungeon since Grasp, and it's because if you look since Grasp, you can notice that there's a change in the philosophy of dungeons. How they're pushing, because at least at that time they were pushing for more almost perfection for the bosses, because it started to make it to where you had to juggle more jobs, juggle more knowledge, and you just can't stand there in DPS. Like Duality, you got to move. Warlord's Ruin, you have to move. What's the water one? Ghost of the Deep, you have to move. And you just can't stand there, and you can't just you don't have like a free 30-second DPS window. And this one feels not as straightforward for a solo player, which I understand why you feel that way, because I felt that same way when I was doing my solos, because it felt like I was having to do a raid by myself. I don't know if that's what they're pushing for these dungeons to go towards, but it's quite obviously like totally different than what we've seen the last couple years of dungeons. And I don't know if I like it either, but maybe obviously not for the same reason you, but it's different. And I would love to ask the dungeon team, did they intentionally make the boss room's floor and the fight of the lightning and all that the same visually? I don't think so, because obviously for some people that have to deal with accessibility options, that's probably really tough to deal with.
That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah. But I wonder if they did that on purpose, because if you look at Salvation's Edge, that has a similar thing that's on the floor. But the difference is it's very different than the actual floor we stand on.
Yeah.
And it's also a consistent left and right and jump. Whereas this one is almost just random. Just feels random where you have to move to.
Like
I don't
being
know.
And
struck
it's
by
hard
lightning.
to see what's actually available because
yes,
I've had it where an entire side is covered with exception of a very, very small area.
Yep.
And you can't see it because it's fizzling all around it. Everything's glowing.
Or you're too close to the ground. Like
you just also have a lot of information. Like you have to do all that and then deal with the multiple clones also attacking you and a couple running you. It's a lot for one person.
Yeah. That first day, I remember Dunes was like, or the first weekend that I did it, because I didn't do it during contest, but the first run that I did, my buddy Dunes was like, man, I can't, like, these are stressing me out. I can't really see what's happening on the floor. I can't anticipate it, and it just kind of like rocks me every time, and it's punishing in a way that at the time didn't feel fun to him. I know that was like part of his feedback on that. I think
I don't mind DPS. I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now that I'm starting to figure it out and get used to it. And I have my own way. I hate the encounter though. I hate it.
So Sarah was just saying that before the stream.
Worst part.
Yeah.
You hate the entire encounter?
I hate the encounter.
Okay.
There are encounters where I'm
anything
like,
specific?
I'm bored. It's annoying.
Is it just the length?
Damage.
It's the length. It's the length. It's okay. I'm doing tasks. It's a list of chores I need to do. I'm running around. Then you have to worry about these things running around with you.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. Like, okay, I have to avoid them. It's just, I don't like it. I do not like it. And that's starting to get in my head because it's going to take, for me, it's going to be a 2.5, 3 hour fight.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all I'm doing is running around away from these things, shooting panels. It's not that hard for me. It's not hard for me at all, except for damage. And it's not that I just get bored, like, okay, fine, it's a slog. No, I'm legitimately annoyed. I do not want to be in there. And I've never felt that in a dungeon.
Okay.
I do not, like, I despise it. And I don't know if it's because of how long it takes, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's annoying. It frustrates me. And I've never had any other thing, like, in a dungeon frustrate me.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't say frustrate me, like legitimately annoy.
Well, so Sarah, you were talking to this same point before stream. Like, would you like to expand on your rationale behind that too?
So, full disclaimer, I still haven't done the full dungeon. As I said earlier, like I haven't done the boss, right? I've done every other encounter multiple times, but I haven't done the boss. And for example, Warlord, I did it with my partner. So we just duoed the whole thing together, and it was like such a great fucking experience. Loved it. It was just fun. Like duoing it, the level of difficulty was just perfect for that. And then we tried to do the same thing with Vesper, kind of going in blind and just trying to figure it out. And then, we did contest with another person, but then we were trying to just finish the boss. And he also agrees with Sammy. It's just tasks like the boss. The other two encounters are great. They're fun and everything.
I love
the boss. They're really
them.
fun. Like really enjoy them. But then when you get to the boss, it's like the setup to get to the damage phase is so long. And it's like, why does it take so long to get to damage phase? Like, why do you have to do all these tasks? Why do you have these two dudes that are just, just kind of Geiger countering you every 5 seconds?
Yeah.
Like all over the place. And I don't know. There's just something about it that just does not feel good. It's not interesting because it's like, oh, I have to do all of this, all of these tasks. It takes a really long time to get to the damage phase. And then the damage phase is very short. Or at least it feels short to me. I know there's
well,
ways
it's one of the
to
longer
extend
ones,
it.
but the problem definitely is like the jumping, I find.
Yeah.
That always move.
Because
there's
disruptive.
It's the stick and move.
Which
but
is
it's definitely the
fine.
longest phase we've had in a few years.
Okay, so like I said, I haven't done it, right? So to be fair, like that's just my experience of it.
No,
but
I
it's
got
just
you.
not interesting in a sense of like Warlord, you have to move at some point, right? You have to jump into places and whatnot. You still kind of stick in one like place for a little bit of time, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I'm like, it takes so long to get to damage phase, and then because you have to move, because you have to kind of, it's so disruptive. The damage phase does feel a little bit shorter. It feels. I know it's not, but it feels shorter.
No, it absolutely
right?
feels it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's just like, oh, my damage phase is already done. I've done very little compared to what I should have done, or maybe I could have done. And now I'm back to doing the tasks. Now I'm back with the Geiger counter guys. Now I'm back with like, I don't know. It just does not feel good compared to other dungeons, which have similar kind of setups. Like I'm thinking Kaido. Kaido is a similar setup. You've like, you have all of the kind of tasks you have to do. Then you can ring the bell. Then you can go damage her, and then you still have to move. Warlord is slightly similar. You have to kill all of the things, move up the platforms, and so on and so forth. Right? They're very similar when you think about it. Dungeon bosses are very similar, which there's nothing wrong with that. But this one in particular, I do not enjoy.
I feel like part of it is that damage versus the tasks you have to do are imbalanced. A big thing is that you're given this list of tasks that you have to do, but it's not combat. Yeah. Honestly, you run around and do them. You're not really fighting much. You can avoid all the enemies that actually will fight you, and then all it is avoiding, the hardest part is that as far as fire incoming is from Atrax. Otherwise, you just run around and avoid these guys. They're all melee. So you're doing tasks without the challenge of other enemies coming at you. I think that's why it's annoying is you're doing these things, but it's not actually combat.
It is a lot. It's just a lot to like focus and run through.
I've seen people say they'd prefer if you didn't have to do both sides downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
I can see that.
That's what really makes it like if you could pick one, that might be better. But obviously, everyone would probably pick the blue room. But still,
probably
maybe that's their way of forcing you to do red.
I hate the blue room.
Give us an option.
Really?
Like,
hate it.
If you do both rooms, you get maybe just an extra little bit of time for damage, or you get
See, that's what I would suggest.
You
do both.
You get some heavy
longer damage
heavy
window.
spawns or whatever. There's an incentive to do both of it. You don't have to, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, to be honest, like, why can't we just send Ghost out to do all these tasks? Like, he goes around scans shit all the time.
I know.
Why can't we just
go kite
you
these
mean you want to go
radiation
to
bastards?
each panel and then like have to defend Ghost while he does them? You want to do that instead?
Yeah.
I just want something
Pick him and throw him.
to shoot.
Yeah.
I love mechanic heavy encounters. I love them, but this doesn't even feel like a mechanic.
Yeah.
It just feels like you don't even have to shoot the panels in order.
Yeah. I think that's fine. I feel like that's like if you're like
I prefer that we don't do it, but it's still like
you
I don't
heard
would cause
Sammy,
way
dungeon
more wipes
team,
if you did,
change
if you
it
had
to order.
to.
Order
Man.
based. She wants order based.
I would rather have something I have to think. Either give me something to shoot or give me something to think about. Rather than, oh my God, this thing is still chasing me. It's making this super freaking annoying sound.
Counter. Yep.
Just
let us hear it.
Just
give
stop.
us
Just
give us
stop.
a choice of going left or right, and if we can hear it that way, it's going to be quicker with no enemies, but we have to get through him. But if we hear him that way, okay, no, I'm going to go this way with the trip mines and everything, and he's not going to be that way.
Almost like Riven cheese.
I knew someone was going to say it.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think they expected people to go down both sides. I don't think I don't think they thought that everyone would go down, because you can definitely do both sides at the same time. But obviously, no one's going to do that because you leave one person solo.
Right.
So I wonder. I would love to talk to the dungeon team and just get like. Every time a dungeon comes out, I'm always curious about what their thought process was for how they created the encounter, how they expected the community to engage with the encounter. Because obviously they make it to where there isn't one right way of doing the dungeon or doing a raid or whatever. But they always have, like, if you ever watched them do the dungeons and the raids, they always do it a specific way. Sometimes the same as the community, sometimes not. So I'm always curious in their playtest how they tested this dungeon out.
I feel like we've talked about the dungeon quite a bit. So like,
sorry.
That's the big thing, man. That's the big thing for this episode, or like it's this act or whatever. The dungeon.
And with the act, I feel like because we got the Act 1 story. I think everybody probably completed that within like a couple of hours on the first day. Which
they were like, "Oh, you're gonna be able to do the entire act at once," and then I was done within the hour. I was just like, "This literally felt like every other time."
Terminology. People were confused, even myself, of the terminology, because I thought, and I'm probably assuming you did as well, that they meant all 3 acts or whatever. All 3 acts are going to be released, and not just the week-to-week thing.
But I knew it would be just the one act at a time.
Yeah,
I knew that, but I thought it would take me like at least 2 hours to sort of run through.
Oh no!
What they used to be considered 3 weeks worth of content. You know,
no, I definitely knew it was going to take like an hour and a half, but based off of the response, it seemed like I guess the issue is we used to call these seasons. And now we have acts, we have episodes. The terminology obviously is not sticking with the community on what is what.
And not to interrupt you, but aren't we going back to fucking seasons next year?
We are.
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't read the last few weeks, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of like...
It wasn't the last few weeks. It was when they announced.
It was one of the first like
Frontier stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we get 2 expansions a year.
Yeah.
But they're more like... Correct me if I'm wrong. Rise of Iron sort of style.
More like Shadow
size, right? Shadow, yeah.
Shadowkeep.
So 2 expansions a year, and you'll have 2 seasons in those expansions.
And those seasons will have the entire story, whatever, drop day 1. Unlike what we have now.
But why did we go from seasons to then episodes?
Because people complained.
And now we're going back to seasons.
People complained.
And then they complained about episodes. So
they complained about not knowing what the episodes were.
This is their way of rejigging the seasonal model.
You might also see some like corporate stuff in with that too. They had to give us something we
didn't want until we realized that maybe we actually wanted it.
I have to do that with my toddler all the time.
I don't. Well, here's the thing.
Give them something worse.
I don't think seasons was something we didn't want. I think that what people wanted was a shakeup in the season. We wanted something different in the season themselves. The name of it, the terminology of it, does not really matter at the end of the day. Like, we're going back to it. It does. That's not that whatever, quote unquote. But it's more like people were tired of the same sauce kind of being stretched out forever every season, and the same thing coming up over and over again. People were like, okay, cool, but we've done this like 10 times already, more than that actually, but I'm just going to go with a safe 10. We've done this 10 times already. It's always the same thing. It's always repetitive. Just give us something new. And they're like, oh, we're going to do episodes. Oh, cool. Episodes. Nice. That's something different. No, it's not. It's a reskin. Well,
so I think there's a few things with that. Obviously, there's been a huge corporate shakeup over the past year with Bungie, with everything going on there. Not only that, and you probably have the heads of Sony being like, "Hey, you need to shape up because things are happening." And they like look at Concord.
They did shape up. They did shape up with the final shape.
Well,
and it still didn't.
That's the thing though. Like whenever on the corporate side, how I'm viewing it as like, so we had Tim Ryan who was really pushing for a lot of live service games, and then he's out in January, and we see 2 new people come in to lead Sony Interactive, who own Bungie, essentially. Herman Holst, who was like Killzone, and I forget who the other gentleman's name is. But like whenever somebody corporate side, whenever somebody who has a big idea leaves, it's very often that you see them turn ship on that idea.
Yeah.
Look at Concord, like the 100-day saga that was Concord, between like launch, delisting, and then like shuttering the studio. Like it's pretty insane that happened.
That's heartbreaking.
With this, I view it as like we have the corporate shakeup on that end. We also have like Bungie laying off people. When it so there's probably some pressure to repackage it in a way that also wasn't tied specifically to like a season model, because when people like think seasons, they think like
they think negatively.
They think 4 pieces of content that are like coming out.
I think it depends on when you played this game, because if you tell me seasons, I don't think specifically 4.
Yeah,
I just think, whatever. Yes, like if it's 3 or 4,
I just think
whatever.
It's got an expiration date.
Yeah, exactly.
Season, it's
temporary.
It's just going to change constantly.
Yes.
Not additions, but just things are just going to change, and I'm going to have to redo shit, and I'm going to have to, basically build my entire social and working life around this. You know what I mean? Like I can't.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I don't think a specific number. I just think it has a start date, it has an end date, and then next content drop or next whatever happens.
Yeah. I can see that too. I just like, I think they were they wanted to tell stories that were different than what we had before. It's still tied into the final shape. On a much more relaxed schedule than probably putting out 4 pieces of content a year allowed them to do. And so like that's what I see. Them going back to a seasonal model with shorter DLC is interesting to me, because I want to see how that delivers versus like what we've seen now, or what we've seen in the past with seasons. But that's at least how I view it. I don't know.
I mean, it'll be interesting because, like we've all said, even though people didn't think of seasons as 4, as they minimize the amount of, we'll just call them content drops, as they minimize that, people expect the amount of content in each one to increase. And as of right now, it's kind of looking like it's not increasing per content drop you receive. So if you were to get like say 2 a year, but they were major drops, major story beats, big like mind-blowing stuff in comparison to what you get now, probably would be seen as a positive. So it'll be interesting how it turns out with, I think, 2
Seems like
a
that's
year.
what they're gonna do. Yeah, with the
That's the hope. Because I don't care when or how many drops you get, as long as each drop is
it's solid. It brings people back.
Yeah.
And there's the understanding now from like all these game dev. You can't be like, I've been saying this a lot the last few days with like Call of Duty. Everyone's like, oh, how's new Call of Duty? I'm like, it just looks like the same shit, different year.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so many games that we're all, everyone's playing. So to try and compete at like literally all year long, it's just not sustainable. Right. So you hit something sort of big, and if you break it up into 2 months, then you've got, I'm sorry, not 2 months, into 6 months, twice a year, like huge, and then you've got half that again between those 2 halves. That's where you're hitting it. But when we're talking seasonal models, and the 4 being the seasonal model, right? But now the seasonal model was going to be 2. That kind of psychologically brings down in our minds, the amount of time we have to wait for something big, if that makes sense, because there's going to be 2 expansions. And when there are the quiet points in between it, there's that understanding from the developers and also from the community that, we have our other games to go play as well.
Yeah.
It depends on what kind of Destiny player you are, though, which is I think Destiny players are interesting because a lot of players, even in those small times, they don't play other games. They either don't play games at all or they still play Destiny. And it's tough because I remember going through the era of Destiny where they were trying to be like, this is the only game you should play. This is it. We're going to have stuff every week, every month for the entire year. You won't ever have to play another game. When that didn't work, they were like, okay, well, you can dip in and dip out when you want to, but we'll always have content for you. And when that didn't work, because a lot of players who weren't fully committed to Destiny chose not to come back because the content that they were coming back to see wasn't substantial enough for them to want to return, then they changed again. So now we have that. Now that we have this content model or supposedly model, it'll be interesting to see because players like us will always be there.
Right.
Like they don't need to cater to me because I'm probably going to play the content no matter what. And I know it's probably not what you want to hear. Oh, content creators, they just want whatever. No, I really enjoy Destiny. That's just what it is. And I might play other games throughout the year because I enjoy those as well. But I do know whenever new Destiny stuff pops up, I will be there. They don't need to sell me on content. They need to sell content to those other people. And clearly Sony's like, yo, you need to get them to spend some money with us. So it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the community wants because clearly the community doesn't really know what it wants either.
Yeah.
And maybe this turns out well, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We say that in so many different regards throughout life, and we just bundle everyone together, right? And, you know, but it's like, what does the community want? There are so many different pockets of the community that are all.
Sammy and I met a couple pockets just over the course of that Baron Bingo. Like
I was just about to bring that up. The community really responded to that well. Absolutely loved it in a lot of ways. Because it involved them.
Yeah.
They were able to come in and personally I think that some of it wasn't, they were fleshing it out. You could definitely tell internationally, but overall people really seemed to like it. And I've had people come in and they're like, I really hope they do it again. People are saying, oh, there's rumors about Act 2 Baron Bingo. Like, we got to do this. We got to get ready for it. I told people I promise that it can be anyone until the end of the act. So they have until Tuesday. I think I've got like, in the last day, 15 submissions. And people are still doing it. People are still wanting to come in. And I don't think at this point it's necessarily just for the emblems. I mean, people want them, but it gives them a reason the outside of the game to do what they want. Bungie isn't telling them, hey, you have to do this. It's kind of just an outside, hey, here's a suggestion.
Right. I think
you can choose to do it or not.
I think more what I was getting at was like, so from my perspective, we saw a large amount of people come in to our little section of the community that were more collections driven and more driven and more chronically on Destiny, I guess is like, if that's like fair to say, is like my community plays a lot of games and like they're generally like fairly open about that. But there's like some who like, a lot of the folks that came in were just like, yeah, we're on Destiny, we're doing this, you know, and it gave them that feel. So like, I don't know, I've kind of liked the relaxed fit of Act 1 at least, especially being able to knock out everything in that first week. But like, and just kind of like letting the rest of the season lie while I go and play other things. I like that aspect for me personally, not just as like a content creator, but as like a person who has interest in Astrobot and Dragon Age Veilguard and things along those lines.
I think you and I had very different experiences with
I think
Baron
we
Bingo.
did.
Incredibly different experiences.
They were, I
in
think
a bad
all of us
way
did.
or in a.
I think
talk about it.
Just different.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's based off also where we connect with our communities,
Mm-hmm.
how our communities are built.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's more social media,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of where people come from. Not as much my streams,
Yeah.
because I don't have as consistent of streams. It's changed. It's grown a lot over the last couple months. So I don't really have a core community that's just streaming.
Mm-hmm. Mine.
So
for the most
and we
part,
did it all in about a week.
Yeah. You
I
guys
did it
nailed
all in about a week. So I feel like where people came from and what they wanted from it. And then I had another big streamer that helped me out. I could not have done it without him. ATP. Yeah, it was a great experience. It was a lot more work than I expected it to be. A lot more work, I know, for you too. But I think we both ran it a different way. But I think a lot of that's also because our communities are very different.
Mine primarily, like I have a fairly regular group of people that come in and like and hang out, and like it was, I don't think it was negative. I don't think it was a bad thing, because we met a lot of really good people, and like we got to hang out, we got to give away emblems. Like that's things that you want to do. Yeah. Were there things that I'd change about it? Absolutely. But like I think for the most part it was a good experience. But I also think that like had Act 1 been like kind of stretched out, had they been like, okay, you got to do these things every week, had there been more to do, Baron Bingo wouldn't have been as big of a success within the community kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where they've done those competitions with guiding games over the past couple of years. Starts off big and everyone's into it and starts smashing it out. But then over 3 weeks with like trying to stay on top, it just so much like falls off, and viewership and like viewer interest around it kind of falls off. You know what I mean? So
like, well, we've talked a little bit about Festival of the Lost earlier. Like outside of Baron Bingo, I don't know if I would have really engaged all that much with Festival.
I definitely haven't for 4 years.
I have the Callus mask from the Suck Room from all the way back in Leviathan, and I wear that on all my characters all the time. That was fun to interact with it that way, but other than that, I don't know. It was
I'm gonna be that annoying person who's like, I much prefer the Haunted Forest thing than the Lost.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Like, I am so sorry. And I know I'm the one who's always like, please bring back the old content. And I'm sure people are tired of me saying this all the fucking time. Fine, whatever. Be tired of that. But seriously, I love the challenge of you have to run so goddamn fast. You have to clear every levels as quickly as you can. You have to be mindful of homie, because if he gets your ass, you're dead. Like, I miss that. It was spooky. It was slightly scary. Like, some people are gonna be like, it wasn't scary. Whatever. It wasn't scary for you.
Popped up. Oh my god.
Oh my god, yes. You did not expect him. You would turn around, he would be in your face, and he would just slam you and kill you. It was fantastic. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I miss
Someone
that.
said to me like the other day, they were like, I've looked back on, where's the Infinite Forest? I'm like, man, that hasn't been around for about 3 years.
Dude, I miss that. It was fun. And then you had, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of the modifiers, but at the end of the day, it was still so fun in and of itself that I didn't care about the modifiers. Like, even if the modifiers were, like, not great. Yeah, exactly. Like, Glass Cannon or whatever it was called. Dude, if you had that, homie was on your ass, you were dead. He slammed, you were dead. But it was so good. And I'm like, can we have that back? Or can we have something similar back? Because I'm so sorry. running what 3 or 4 lost sectors over and over and over again. It's not fun. I'm sorry, it just isn't. At least like for a little bit, sure, but for 3 weeks, no. I would run the haunted forest forever. And then when you got somebody that was new and you would troll them at the end with the maze path. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And you would like get them to just fall down and like they would scream. It was amazing. And like that's just gone. And it makes me sad. Festival of the Lost was fun back then. Festival of the Lost is not as fun right now. I'm so sorry. It's just, at least to me, it isn't.
I hear that
One thing
sentiment
that
a
was-
lot.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying I hear that a lot. You know, I wonder if they actually could. I know they said they couldn't originally because of like assets from that area are tough to port back. But
I call
in this current sandbox,
bullshit.
it'd be nice. As long as they remove the cap. Because after a certain amount of waves, you can't go any further.
Like Revelry. Okay, but that's the other thing, right? If you bring back Festival of the Lost with the Haunted Forest, please bring back Revelry. I'm so sorry. I do not enjoy Guardian games. I personally don't.
I never
loved
do.
Revelry.
I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, like Revelry was stupid. It was game breaking 100%. Like
It was fun,
the game did not like
though.
it. But it was
What was
so much fun.
What was the doubles Valentine's one?
Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Days.
Oh,
yeah.
Crimson Days. That too. I was talking to somebody recently about that. Like these old things, they were fun. They were just like, I don't know, there was something about it that was kind of whimsical and kind of stupid, but
They were
also just
unique
fun.
and fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Revelry was like, how many levels can you do? Because there was no limit to it, right? It was like just
Yep.
run as much as you can for as long as you can. And that did break the game because the ammo that would drop on the ground back in the day, the game was like, no, it hated it. But it was so much fun because like, how far can you go?
Right.
I
How many?
remember
Like,
running Revelry in Reckoning, and like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it was so good to get like across the bridge. I remember like taking, I had a pack with some PvP sweats, and I was like, all right, you get me 2100, I'll take you over, and we'll get you a spare rations and everything
Yeah.
across the bridge. You know, ignoring hunger and all that.
It was so much fun.
I wonder why they
Revelry
don't
was,
do
like,
that
the top
more.
thing to do.
They definitely should make. I think we all agree that we miss those things, but we miss them because they're fun. They're
Yeah.
unique.
Yes.
They have this niche to them, and that's
Yeah.
what these like holiday events should be. They should be fun little times for us to like see some stuff in the game that isn't normally there. There's a reason the crafting was so big, you know,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was something unique and niche, and like that made people log on just to have fun and participate in something that wasn't like super hardcore. You know, I don't know why they don't bring that stuff back.
No, but they all had their own activity.
That too.
Technically, right? Like Haunted Forest for Festival of the Lost. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the Infinite Forest for Revelry, technically. And then you had Crimson Days, you had a Crimson Doubles, and you had like a specific type of PvP Crucible thing. They all had something very specific to them. Festival of the Lost now, it's Lost Sectors. I'm so sorry. I can do Lost Sectors in this game every day. Like, and then there's nothing for Crucible that's very specific like that. Like, but just Crimson Days just doesn't exist anymore. Guardian games is what? It's what? Like, what is Guardian games?
Like,
It's
I
playing
know,
the
I know
game.
this is a very specific problem only to like us, but no one wants to watch
know.
that shit either.
I agree. I'm sorry.
So
It's
I don't want to watch it. Why am I then going to sit on, you know, make content about it, make videos about it, be live about it, doing it? I'm not having a good time doing it. People aren't wanting to do it themselves, but I'm like, okay, I've got to tick this off my freaking list to do, and I'm sat there. I'm just, it's a really, it's one of those things that only affects like a small part of said wide community, but you know, just no one wants to watch that shit, let alone do it.
But at the same time, I think I feel like that's like a scheduling thing. You know what I mean? Like, especially on our end, like if we know, this is Dan, the content creator, is like, if we know that people don't like watching something, or that we know that they don't engage in something, and we're not engaging with it either, maybe we shouldn't keep trying to make it work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
but maybe it's more of a me thing then, because it's like, really the only time I get to play games is when I'm on stream. Now, It's not a thing of anymore where I get to sit and play games to relax.
Yeah.
Right. It's barely a thing. My allotted stream time is to play games and to run content and interact with people. Right. That's the time I get to play games.
I mean, fair, but as the non-content creator here, I also don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's a chore list. It's literally what it is. It's like, oh, all these triumphs I have to do, all these things. And like, okay, how you know the 30,000 candy thing?
Yeah.
Why is it that it's much more efficient for me to go do like Shattered Throne boss CP than it is to just get them by playing? Like there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between like, here's an activity that's supposed to be fun. I mean, Festival of the Lost, any event in Destiny is supposed to be fun. Like, why are they not fun anymore? They used to be fun. They used to be great time. They used to be just, hey, this thing is happening. Let's go do it.
And you could like have jokes and like we were saying before, like, you know, bait your friends into dying at the end. Like the amount of like antics we would get up to.
I feel like that is something that they're not. They've kind of created these cookie cutter events that work for their seasonal model, and like things that are more bespoke and whole cloth outside of that take time and resources that maybe they don't have because they're working on bigger things for that group. I understand. I like Baron Bingo was nice, but it was a marketing thing. It was not in game at all, right? It was something that they did for marketing. If we had more things like that drummed up community interest rather than some of these things that like mess with the economy of the game in ways like you were talking about, like why does it make more sense that I get more candy doing this event or this activity than what I get from the event? That seems like an economy issue and something that should be touched on later. But yeah, I think I don't want to like dogpile and be like, oh, this game's not fun anymore. Because you know what I mean? I think
there's still good things about the game.
We have our nostalgia and our history with it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fun things that they've disappeared. That's kind of, I think that's what we're saying. It's not that the game is not fun anymore. There's still fun elements in the game, but there's a lot of those fun elements that we used to have that have disappeared, have been removed, or just are not there anymore. And that's kind of where we're like, hey, this is an event. We want to have fun with it. Please make it fun.
But
it's not fun at the moment.
Yeah. I just feel like that's a restriction on resources thing and not so much.
Maybe I don't like, I don't know. I can't speak about that, but to me, it's more like it's coming back every year, which that's great, but it's always the same thing, which is not a bad thing. Technically having the same event over and over again, technically is not a bad thing, but people have said like, hey, Lost Sectors are not really that fun, or they're not that entertaining, or that whatever. Like, can we have something slightly different? And I understand that they have less resources right now and so on and so forth. But I don't know. It just feels like this is methodical. It's become methodical, right? And it's like, okay, I guess this is what we have now. And I'll play it, but I'm not going to have as much fun as I used to have during this event. Like, Festival of the Lost used to be one of my favorite events. And now it's kind of like, oh, I guess it's a thing now.
Yeah. I haven't done any of the events. In years.
Yeah, a lot of people have stopped engaging with them.
Yeah. And if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to engage with it as wholeheartedly as something that you do enjoy. We do have like a few things that we can touch on, especially like with the TWID and the developer video that came out earlier this week around
speaking about
Act
content
2.
coming back.
But like, so we had a big video on Contest of Elders coming in, or is it Contest? Or Tomb of Elders. Tomb of Elders.
Which is what is it based off of, Daniel?
It's based off of Prison of Elders, Destiny from back in Destiny 1. But it seems like they're making it more roguelite-y and allowing you to, if you're performing well, that you're able to skip sections of it in order to keep going further and further for better rewards.
And it looks very fluid, like the seasonal activity we had.
Coil?
To Coil. It kind of feels very
okay, I was
fluid like
gonna
that,
ask
and
about that.
more, and more open. Because Prison of Elders is very closed and narrow, right? In these little arenas, whereas it just feels like they've just opened up all the windows in Coil for this. Obviously, I haven't played it yet, but like it looks like it would feel that way.
Yeah, Sammy, Dan, what are some of your thoughts?
I didn't watch it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have no thoughts.
But there was an emblem.
I missed it. I'm mad about that. I didn't watch it and I missed it and I'm mad and I'm like,
I slept through it.
Oh no. Just dreaming about dungeons.
Probably.
Exactly.
I have not dreamt about this dungeon, thank goodness. This is the first one I have not dreamt about.
Can I ask to segue for a second and interrupt Dan? I used to have dreams when it used to get like super busy at work, like super busy periods, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, why the hell am I sleeping? I need to be at work. Or I need to get this thing done. Or I need to make sure that I need to do that. And that was like me crazy like at work. Did you ever used to get that when you had been in the dungeons for however many days and however many hours over those days? Would you wake up in the middle of the night and think, why am I here? Like, I should be at my desk.
Yeah, no, I would wake up after sleeping for like 2 hours, and then I was like, the only reason that I am not streaming is because I have to put makeup on.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I will not. I don't want to spend the 20 minutes to put makeup on.
Just sit there with the camera on, but lights off.
Yeah.
I've done that,
Yeah.
I do that on like launch days for expansions. I'll just go back in my chair, lights off. I'm here, guys. I need a break.
Yeah, if I put makeup on and I'm like, I really don't want to stream, but I already put my makeup on, I will stream because I took the time to put my makeup on.
I feel that too. Oh my god, yes. You're like, dude, I didn't spend that much.
I did not spend
all of that. Yeah, exactly. And I need to do it now because I spent too much time.
I committed.
Exactly. No, I get it. Oh my
god. But go circling back around, Dan.
Sorry.
Like it's all right. It's all right.
You're good.
But yeah.
I mean, as far as Tomb of Elders, I mean, I enjoyed it in D1. I know back then it was called Prison of Elders. And a lot of people probably did not play D1, and if they did, they probably didn't play Prison of Elders when it was actually super difficult.
Oh yeah,
back when like Skullhouse and stuff, it used to be super hard.
I think once.
So my personal hope is that it's on that level to at least compensate, because maybe they do, but sometimes I don't know if they really realize how strong we are as a player base for my toolkit and our skills and our just intelligence as players has grown dramatically, and the player skill outweighs the sandbox a lot of times. So my hope is that they can somehow make it a very challenging experience for me, especially if I plan on soloing it and doing all that content around it. Since I'm probably gonna do it maybe once or twice day one, then just do like solo after that. So I'm really interested in having some new content to solo.
Yeah.
Speaking of sandbox, and I'm not saying this specifically about the dungeon, but it has been eye-opening and very, very different going into this dungeon specifically without having my super. Because I go in without artifact. I go in without
Tether is rough.
Yeah. Having to use different exotics that I normally didn't use. Like for the final boss, I'm using Mothkeeper's grips. Whatever. Grasp. Yeah. I was just not enjoying myself in that encounter as we were going over, and I'm like, I need to have fun. So I'm going to use the throwaway exotic and just put these on and use them. And they actually work so well for me in that encounter. But I don't have tether. I'm very limited because I don't use the artifact. I can only imagine what it's like for people who use optimal, who have supers, who use the artifact. And I guess it would be like, I mean, the sandbox is massive to be able to have all of those. And I just wonder if they know just how many combinations there are. Because it's eye-opening not having things. Now just thinking about, oh my gosh, if I had tether, just one thing, if I had tether, it would make all the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, what if I actually used other things? Tether plus, if I were a Titan with Thunder Crash or what is it? In the second encounter with all the ice things that people use. Yeah, Behemoth. And I pair that with the artifact, and then I have like a stasis weapon. I don't know. If I had meta, how different that would be. And I don't know if Bungie fully knows, what we're capable of.
Well, if anything,
I mean, more in the sense of like being able to balance it.
Yeah.
Because they've had this issue in raids where you can't make a raid, or you can't make a dungeon to where you have to run meta in order to succeed. But I don't know if they really realize. I don't know if I feel like it's a balancing issue because, like you said, if you're running like what Sammy's having to run for their experience, it's going to be totally different than someone who has all these things that they can stack on top of one another to just pump out huge amounts of damage. I don't know if they can balance content around having to run that stuff, but they can't balance it around not running all that stuff either. Because if someone does run that stuff, it's just one phase no matter what. That's really tough. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, at least talking about Prison Elder or Tomb Elders, how they balance it.
Yeah, exactly. Going in, it's like...
Well, and we're about to get like a huge sandbox shakeup with like the roaming super buffs that are coming. Like,
which is a help. There's nothing getting nerfed. So like, if we have like if there's a roaming super that comes out that just happens to be as insanely strong as Behemoth right now, like say Nova Warp for some reason, then like imagine like the second encounter you got a Stasis Titan and a Nova Warp at the same time.
Yeah.
So
I remember Nem doing crazy things with that back in the Planet Destiny days. But yeah, like I think it's like 1 to 3. Is that right? Like in the big one and done supers, you'll get once for every like 3 of the roaming.
Oh,
if I read that correctly.
Yes.
So I think
they're
really
trying to make us move.
Yeah. And I think they're also trying to make the roaming supers catch up a little bit to
that's
those
the
big,
bigger thing.
Yeah.
Big one-shot supers are just instant, and it's really hard to balance. One thing I've noticed is there was a time when the roaming supers reigned supreme. But now, like, because damage phases are shorter, because there's more we have to do, it's just way better to just, toss a T-Crash or toss a Nova Bomb and then just go back to your actual weapons. Because back then our supers did way more damage than all of our abilities and weapons. And now all of our weapons and abilities are supers by themselves. So like, I don't know how they're going to do. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to balance a roaming super outside of making it incredibly strong.
Here's a balancing for you.
Let me hear it.
Burning Maul, but with Pyro Girls on. Is that still a roaming super?
They well is not, but I see what you're going for.
I would be interested to see how like the notes on them tuning that specifically, especially with how, because Pyro Gales is basically the golden, like the Nighthawk.
Yeah, it was the same thing. Does that make it not a roaming super then? I mean, you can pop the super, run around still with it until it bloody hits 0. So technically, I'm
something
roaming
might fall
around
through
whilst
the
in a
cracks.
super.
Yeah, so
But
maybe
this is
Tuesday
where they would
combos
have
like
to
that.
say, that if you do have these items on, it will cancel.
Well, they did say that in the
cancel it out,
posting.
so.
They said that if you have those things on, it shouldn't have those benefits.
Okay, yeah, I missed that.
But maybe it'll fall
Cool.
through the cracks.
They're ahead of me. Awesome.
Maybe it'll fall through the cracks. I would not be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well skating, is that a roaming super?
But you're technically not using your super, so no.
Well skating, you are using your super.
You are using it.
You
You
have
activated
it.
I'm
it.
only using half of my super. That's all.
And is well considered one of those one and dones. More so. Like versus like Song of Flame. Whereas like I think that was
I think they consider well a one and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because maybe my thinking is anything that's a roaming super is when you cast it, that meter goes down. Versus you cast it and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say if I put it on a payload in a GM.
Is Mobius Quiver roaming super?
Mobius Quiver could be considered a roaming super. But Deadshot cannot. Maybe. I don't know if they specify that.
I guess they'll have to define exactly what it is. Like, here's what it is, here's what it's not. And then
because
I'll just put my well down on a payload in a GM, and it will roam around the area. Like, come on, it's right there in the English
maybe
language.
actually Tether isn't because they specify spectral blades in the posting that was getting buffed. So maybe they don't consider neither one getting buffed.
Yeah.
Neither
I
Tether.
didn't expect it to. I was just being difficult.
So something to your earlier question. So in the twid is specifically, it says Hunter has like these supers are getting touched. Arc Staff, Golden Gun excludes Celestial Nighthawk variant as it's classified as a one-off super. Spectral Blades, Silk Strike. For Titan, you have Fist of Havoc. You have Burning Maul, excludes Pyrogale Gauntlets variant as it's classified as a one-off super. So your Celestial Nighthawk, Golden Gun, your Burning Maul with Pyrogales will be one and dones. So they have included those variants.
Yeah, so pretty much all the ones that have the bar go down. Okay.
So yeah,
Mobius would be Mobius.
Just by that, thinking Mobius.
Mobius would be because it's the same thing, 3 shots as Goldie. The exception being Orpheus.
Yeah.
Yes.
They also have like
maybe.
They also have like a slew of like changes for exotic armor updates, like point contact brace will be amplified lightning bolts. Now do 100% increased damage over base, up from 50%. Lightning strike defeats now also refund melee energy. Raiden Flux. You're seeing Synapse Junctions super damage benefit increased to 20% per stack. Max benefit is now 70%.
Such a good exotic year 1.
Yeah.
That's going to become really strong again because it's putting it on level with the one season of Deep Dives where Arcsav was the highest damage super in the game. I used to love it. So I hope it's on that level again.
Well, with that and the buff to roaming super generation.
Yep. It's going to be hell in PvP.
Well, I think that they're tuning it separately.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, this is separate just for PvE exchanges. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And then Balador's Wrathweavers they increase the shatter damage to 150%. And then fixed an issue where enemies were inconsistently getting boosted shatter damage, which led to decreased overall damage. So like we're going to be seeing like a huge shakeup in the sandbox overall with this next season with Tuesday essentially. So probably expect a long load time. For
it's all right. Sammy will sleep in.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm like
stay up all night.
I'm
God, don't do that. Please don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Dan will be right there with you. He's up all night too.
Listen
I just
here.
stay up all
I have
night and
things
go
to
through the
edit.
update. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna be doing a stream after this later tonight.
I'm so sorry.
It's probably gonna be about. Hopefully, it won't be about 15.
I'll wake
to
up in the morning and
19
come say
hours.
hello.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I need this dungeon done. I need it done, guys. I need it done. It needs to be done.
I feel for you.
But like that's pretty much a lot of the news for the week. Other than like, I think Destiny 1 got like a price decrease, like a permanent price decrease down to $20. So if you wanted to dive into Destiny 1 at any time, you can now do so like for not $60. Which I think
I'm gonna go buy a console, so it still costs more.
Yeah, that's true. You can just pick up a PS4 for cheap somewhere, probably.
Shouldn't that be backwards compatible or no?
It is, yeah. Destiny 1 is backwards compatible. It still runs at 30 frames per second. So it reminds me of like it's jarring. It kind of feels like a clay animation fighter.
Can't go back
a little bit. I don't know, but it still runs at 30. So if you're into that,
was it 30 frames the entire time?
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
D2 was as well.
I remember it being 30 on like the PS4, like on the old.
D2 was until
on
the current consoles. Consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Was it okay?
Yep. I only remember because I was doing both of
PC
those.
was challenging. Going back to Xbox One is challenging.
I couldn't do it as soon as I got comfortable on a mouse and keyboard. I couldn't pick up a controller again.
Yeah.
Best thing that happened for me was crossplay because I used to have to go back to PlayStation 4 to help people, and 30 frames and 55 FOV was interesting.
Yeah.
I've been on console for pretty much my entire streaming career. So like I don't know. I don't notice it as much.
If you go to PC
go to
PC
for a while, then go back, you will definitely notice it.
Yeah.
So I capped mine at 120 when I was doing Corrupted GM solo. Sadia would one hit you
because of the frame rate.
Because of the frame rate.
So I capped it at 60. And you might not think 60 is low.
60 is
when you're going from 120 down to 60,
notice it.
You notice it.
Yes. So what was it? Salvations and the one last year.
Root.
Yeah, Root. Yeah, Root. And it was like, yep, drop your frames. And it was like, all right, so I dropped my frames because I'm taking too much damage. And now I'm too slow and I'm taking more damage. It's like I don't
remember Root having that.
Yeah. Root was the more.
I know Proving Grounds was another one people would drop their frames for.
Really?
Yeah. Because the tank room would not one-shot you anymore.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Interesting.
It was rough.
Yeah.
I think when you're higher though, like going 60 to 30 isn't as bad as going from anything higher than 60 down to 60.
Yeah. Cause like I recently replayed Prey, which is like locked at 30. And I didn't feel it as bad there as I did when I was playing Destiny at 30. Like Destiny 1 at 30. So that was heady times, my friends, heady times. What are you guys most enjoying about your kit lately? Are there any weapons in the over the last season that have surprised you and maybe replaced something that you would normally use before?
Well, you're using Fighting Lion a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it was like last year Fighting Lion was kicking the big Cyclops bosses on the Neptune strike.
Hyper whatever.
Yeah, Hypernet.
Yeah.
So that was like the last time I was using it, right? I feel a lot better with like using stasis at the moment. Stasis feels really good. And yeah, I've just been using a bunch of like other stuff because just a bunch of other kit, like whether it's my no backup plans because of sniper, not sniper, shotgun anti-barrier, and yeah, just been using a bunch of different armor to go with that. So nothing like specifically new weapon wise, but because of new weapons, I'm now trying out like different exotics and different builds. So
I've been using Non Denouement, the Salvation's Edge bow.
Such good bow.
With Volt Shot and Dragonfly. And I still strongly believe that Volt Shot should never be on a bow. But there's no way you're prying that from my hands.
I'm surprised how much it feels like Trinity Ghoul without needing,
I was gonna say,
without needing to
would
be an exotic.
Budget Trinity Ghoul, wouldn't it?
I call it my baby ghoul.
Yeah.
It's my baby ghoul.
Well, they got the Mida Mini 2 in the game. Why can't they have Baby Ghoul?
Yeah.
I think
But
for me, I really like.
Way overpowered.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say it's.
You think it's overpowered?
Oh my god, that weapon should not exist. That role should not exist. 110%, it should not.
I feel like they made that bow just for you.
Yep.
I think you could say that about any bow that's come out over the last few years.
Well, specifically that one because it allows Sammy to still use Levy's breath.
Yeah.
As well, they don't have to take off Levy's.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now that we have that heavy ammo mod.
Oh yeah. You can just make you heavy all the time.
That shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Isn't there a new bow coming out with Iron Banner? Is that?
There's a Stasis sidearm coming out with Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I had the twit up and now I don't anymore. So I conserved a
Nobody
tab.
has tagged me
Saying
or
new
asked
bow.
me about it. Yeah. If there's a new bow, someone would let me know.
Definitely.
Same thing. I'm dreaming.
They play around with like weapon archetypes for the PvP sandbox. Specifically, they say precision bows will get increased body shot damage by 10%. But I'm not seeing anything specifically about like a whole cloth new bow.
What do you guys think about the god roll weapons that are being offered for free?
Good. Like
I won't use them, but I'm wondering what you guys think.
I don't have an opinion. I've on that. I've been so removed from the inner workings. So.
I feel like the stress of for players who were stressed that they weren't getting those to drop, and especially like that whole thing, because that was something that we didn't talk about previously, was like that whole discussion of the actual drop rates kind of being bugged for things. Like I feel like that is a good movie on Bungie's part to be like, you know what? Yeah, we something screwed up and it's been this way for a while. So we're going to do a make good specifically for this new activity and allow you just to get the thing that maybe you toiled hours and hours and days and weeks to try to get. I feel like
everyone goes to Banshee and gets the same weapon with roll, right? It's not like a chance thing.
No, you don't even have to spend money. It's just going to be a quick pickup.
Right. Okay. So it's not like, oh, I spent like 50 hours.
I think
I have a higher chance of someone else getting it. Right. It's guaranteed.
As long as you have a clear of that said dungeon, you should just be able to go walk over there and claim it.
Which is why I need to get that clear.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a day.
I will leave soon.
I think it's good because I think people should probably realize that they're not going to do this probably again.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm personally okay with it. If you didn't play a lot of the dungeon and you didn't have to deal with like farming like I did, then good for you. It's not. It doesn't affect me at all. People being mad about it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not like that weapon it isn't Gallahorn in 2015 where you can't even join content for it, you know? So like
it's a nice to have.
It's so nice to have, you know, for someone like myself who helps other people. I also think it'd be really good for them to feel a bit more confident in said content, just because they'll at least have something that an in-game player like myself will have the same of or equivalent to. You know, it also makes my life easier because they don't have to use a destabilizing round GL. They can actually use one with some decent perks on it.
Yeah. I feel like it's good make good for that activity.
For a mistake that they in the community went back and forth. This is not a problem. This is a problem. This is not a problem. Okay, we found it's a problem. Fine. Make good by taking it, you know. So
yeah,
I think it's a good thing.
That's seeing the Destiny science community step up and really kind of like take charge of that was really cool to see.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because they're like, here's the evidence. We have all of it. we keep logging things, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Never doubt the Destiny community, because there are some incredibly smart people.
Absolutely.
In this community. It's insane.
I believe Dr. Scarrow was in charge of a lot of that, right? Or like at the forefront. So,
because how do you even like I remember watching on Twitter like the posts of them like figuring out like the analyticals of it, and I was like, how would you even think that like there's a 1 to 3 of like perks and all that? That's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. It's people who spend a lot of time in spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destiny spreadsheets are amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, they're insane.
I love them.
Wait, so does that mean, Sammy, you're not even going to purchase the weapons?
Oh, I'll purchase them and then they'll
okay.
sit in my vault.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
thought you were saying you weren't even going to buy them.
Oh, no, I'll get them.
Okay.
If I have space.
We have one question for the night, and then we'll probably wrap up there. AJ Malice asks, given that the story of the Light and Dark saga has finished, how do you think we get the drive for the next saga to begin, given there's a number of players potentially dropping off or already dropped off?
Exploration, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it's going to be we go out of the system, as shown in the concept art.
Frontiers.
There's a lot out there, whether that's through the 9 or through, other legends we've heard. But it's right in the name, Frontiers, right? Like it's exploration, it's survival, it's rebuild. So that's what Destiny was to sort of start with back in 2014. We were inquisitive. We were like, there's nothing sort of like this that's out or coming out. And it's really that sort of space punk kind of ceremonial navigation sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just feel like I just said a bunch of random words, but it's going to be exploration and discovery.
I think that they kind of like tipped their hat to that with the 3rd episode, right? With us going back to the Dreadnought in some fashion, because one of the shards, or one of the I forget what they're called. One of the sparks of the Traveler went to the Dreadnought. So we're going to find something there. We're going to have some interaction. And then Frontiers is something that is supposed to elicit that exploration. Then that will, I think that episode will be kind of like the perfect call to action.
That's a good way to put it.
For that.
The ones before expansions always are.
Yeah.
They always hit in the excitability of what's coming. It's definitely going to bring people back. So
the thing of like people dropping off, I think with every expansion, like people are going to drop off. And I've said this before about like the final shape. I feel like when you call something the final anything, like you should maybe expect people to leave the thing,
they think it's
done.
It's the final year of the game.
It's the final countdown. That's the only song that I know from that band, and I can't even remember the name of that band. But it's anytime you name something like that, I feel like it can be a little psychologically like a trigger to be like, okay, I'm off the merry-go-round, and like off we go. So I think if people are like continuing to hop off, like we'll see that episode over episode. But if something about Frontiers really intrigues people will come back.
See, the thing is, there's still so many people out there to come on in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are a lot of people that picked up the game this year for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be a lot of people that pick up the game through Destiny Rising, and that might be a gateway into it all. You know, like there's kids growing up all the time. We can't be expected to be the only sort of people that are playing it because we've been playing it for like 10 years. There's every chance in the world someone new will pick it up and find it.
I've had a lot of new people coming in.
Same.
Like a lot of new people coming in and asking questions, and like that they just picked up the game through Final Shape. And just kind of rolling with that. And I every expansion we kind of see that, but I feel maybe this is anecdotal, but I feel like we're seeing more people do it. So I don't know. Good question though, AJ. Subsistence Sasquatch came in with one under the wire. Are you guys, and do you think the community will be more open to the year Frontier next year, being more about the replayability of the core rather than the new self-sustained stories and activities? I think
they have to give more incentive for us to play core, but if they actually focus on it and they actually do something and they make it an actually healthy activity and environment, then I think people will be more susceptible to playing it. But if they don't put work into it and it doesn't show, I feel like we aren't going to care.
So I don't know how you guys felt about the Frontiers stuff when it first like launched or when it was first announced. But it sounds like to me that they're trying to bring it back to being a video game in certain ways where you're like, instead of it being like you have this wall of boxes and in each box there's a different activity for you to pull out. They're trying to create like a core hub for you to dive from instead. And that I think maybe more it might be more accessible from that standpoint. Mainly because I think we're used to all the boxes on the wall, but if somebody walks into the room and they see all the boxes on the wall, they're like, "Jesus, what's going on here?" You know, and it can be intimidating, especially for a game that's in 7 years. It's 11 years of Destiny as a franchise now. But yeah, I just it just sounds like to me that they're adding a video game into the core of this video game, and I'm kind of excited to see how that interacts with the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Frontiers, at least the way I look at it, is their best chance at a clean slate. You know,
without starting over,
because at least the last few years has obviously been leading up to one thing, which is the Witness, the Final Shape, all that. And there was some things you could do, but obviously we always knew the end goal was the Witness. That was what it was since they announced kind of announced it 4 years ago. This is probably the first time in 10 years, for me at least, that I'll say 8 years since then. This is probably going to be the first time that like every single Destiny player is going into it brand new, possibly, because it's the first time in a long time that they have the ability to create new lore that doesn't have to have conflicting issues with all the preset lore that they've created in Destiny's world, because we are quote unquote leaving the soul. You know, I feel like I wore this shirt on purpose, Mass Effect 3, because Mass Effect 3 suffered from the same thing where you had this whole world, you end it, and then you have another game that is leaving that universe or that solar system and creating its own path. And that's my one really exciting hope for Frontiers. The core can, as long as they make the core interesting, fine. But at least for a player like myself, the core is not why I play Destiny. It's just isn't. But if Frontiers also means the core systems change, I'm all for it. It'd be interesting.
I took core as in like the core activity, like strikes and
that's what I mean. Like
Crucible.
the
Oh, okay.
I would imagine
I think that's what they mean too.
If we go into Frontiers and we're still doing strikes in the same locations, or Crucible in the same locations, or Gambit in the same locations, then that's not good. You know, if we go to another solar system, why would we come back to the solar system to do a strike? You know, that's at least my thinking of it. Like, so at least make the sandbox different.
You say like to remove like a lot of the planets we like currently have, like maybe you come back to Earth and come back to the tower or whatever, or complete a new universe and new social location.
My thinking of Frontiers, which they won't do it, I already realized that.
Yeah.
But my thinking of Frontiers is, how do you make Frontiers different without making it like the last 10 years of content we currently have? Like if I open up the director and it's all of what we have, but then there's like one other planet that's like Frontiers, then that's just, it's not enough. It's not going to get a player who's lapsed to come back.
Right.
Is what I'm
if
saying.
it was a gateway? You have exactly what we got. We have a gateway. You click on that, and it opens up a just as big area of.
If they were to figure that out, then then that makes sense, because I don't want them to remove content for that, but I do want the new content and Frontiers to be the main thing a player sees when they boot up. I don't know how they do that, and I would hope that they take the core, you know, the strikes, the Crucible, the Gambit, and they also somehow make that in the new Soul. They can make a version of that, you know, just have some lore reason, I guess, where we are doing different strikes elsewhere that have to pertain to that, you know, solar system. You know, I don't want to go to a new solar system and we're just fighting Hive on Io again.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't see them removing anything, because
no, they won't.
The blowback on that would be tremendous. Yeah, but
that's just my stance on it all. Some of it I just know it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
but I'm just also really curious how they're going to make it happen. That's all.
Right.
Because I would love to sit in strikes. I miss just sitting and just doing strikes just passively, or Crucible or Gambit. But I don't want to do that stuff in a new soul system with the same dialogue and the same objectives. That's all.
I would hope that it would be like a new like a clean slate. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you do a clean slate game in the Destiny
without
franchise.
making it a new like box art, like new EXE. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. And like especially knowing that they weren't working on that prior to like June of this year. Yeah, that's something else. But anyway,
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see Heresy. That's the season that I'm most excited about, and I'm excited for Frontier. I'm ready to take the Dreadnought and turn it into a ship and leave.
There's a new bow next episode.
Oh, see, there you go.
There you go. Sam's on it. Sammy's gonna go for it. That's great. I don't know. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that that next year will be like fairly solid. I think people will still come in and people will still enjoy their time.
There'll still be people who come in. I just kind of hope that is there one chance to appeal to a new set of the audience as well. You know, if their whole thing from the last year was, you know, come help us finish the fight, then the next year should be, you know, never play Destiny, come on in, or haven't played Destiny in 5 years, perfect time to get back in when we're all starting fresh. You know,
right?
That's what I'm hoping. And the two people who are helming, or I guess fronting it, are new. So they also, I know we talked about Sony and their thought process earlier. Two new people being over the game means that they're going to have a new idea, new direction, and new beliefs and like philosophy around what they want the game to be. So I'm really, really hopeful for this game, for the future of the game.
Yeah. And with that said, why don't we go around the cube and tell people where they can find you on the internet? Let's start EpicDan. What about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on the twitch.tv/EpicDan22 pretty much every single day. A lot of it's Destiny, but also it's a lot of it not Destiny, but most of the time Destiny. I like Destiny.
Sammy, what about you?
You can find me on the twitch.tv as well /SamiKat. But I'm also on social media. I'm on Twitter, currently known as X, and as SamiKat Plays. I'm SamiKat on Blue Sky, and that's about it for now. You can find me in the dungeon later. Again.
What time are you starting to stream
You sound so
that?
excited.
I don't know.
That's pretty good. Pretty good timing on that. Bona, what about you? Where can people find you, sir?
Everywhere but X nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Twitch. Definitely Monday to Wednesday.
I have not managed to dive off of it quite yet. I'm still going to delete some things, and then
I went through and I made
see about
sure
it this
that
week.
Like, bits of content that I've created myself are off, and also personal photos I've shared family wise off the platform. So.
Yeah. As for me, my name's Danfinity. I do PvE things. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok at DanfinityGG. You can find me on Blue Sky, more relevant, at danfinity.gg. You can find me on Twitch, helping people out with stuff. I've been playing some Veilguard. Tuesday we have a charity event benefiting Second Helpings. So if you're around from like 9 to like whenever, there's going to be prizes from Elgato and all sorts of places. And we have we're going to be attempting to do a spelling bee this time around. So if you're into spelling, hit up your boy. Get in my DMs and I'll see if I can add you to the list of spellers. But yeah, that's it for the show. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for watching. Check it out on YouTube.
Thanks, guys.
Wherever you listen to
Thank
podcasts.
you.
And next week maybe we'll get everybody set up so that it's live streaming to like 4 channels instead of 3 or instead of 1.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna do that.
Heck yeah.